All right, we are here with another episode with William Tincup. This guy has got accolades longer than I have the attention span to read, but we are going to get to it. But William, right off the bat, you've got a couple decades in this HR
Right.
recruiting, HR tech space, a lot of changes. But can you help me narrow down what stayed the same? What hasn't changed and probably won't change?
Well, two things come to mind. One is employees still need to get paid on time, and it still
Absolutely.
needs to be. I don't care how much AI we want to talk about. I still need my check on time.
Put that
And
money in the
again, that
bank
could be,
account. Yes.
that bit that people do. You got one job, one job. It does kind of find itself into HR, and I can remember that being a business owner. You got to pay people on time,
That's
and
right.
there can't be any errors. And if you do have errors, you got to handle it quickly. You're paying them in arrears most of the time. So they've done the work and they need the money. They planned on it. They budgeted on it. I don't think no, the way we've done payroll has changed, and earned wage access and all kinds of other kind of fun things are there. But no, you got to get paid on time because everything else falls apart. The trust that you build falls apart if you can't pay people on time. And the
100%.
other thing is compliance. And the compliance things have changed for companies at 25, 50, 100 employees, et cetera. Like the rules have changed, but the concept of compliance, that you have to be compliant to your state, compliant to the nation. And if you do thing internationally, you got to be compliant there. That has not changed. And there's probably some more stuff, but those two things, payroll and compliance, it's like death and taxes.
Yeah. Do you think AI in the technology world is going to change some of that compliance makeup and the structure of it?
Well, it's definitely going to add some compliance because now you're going to
Mm,
need to be AI compliant. So it does add some compliance. Now, will it be able to do some of the things that compliance, making sure data is correct and making sure that you're within the laws? Seattle can change their minimum wage and does this routinely.
yeah.
The city of Seattle mandates now you have it's $25, and you have to, if you're inside the city of Seattle, minimum wage is $25. And that can happen overnight if you don't have software. AI is great at this. AI will keep up with all of that
Yeah.
so that you're compliant. I mean, I just made up the $25. I don't know how much it is. But the thing is if you do business in that area or you have an employee in that area and you're not compliant, you're on the hook. They don't care if you have software or you have note cards or how you're doing it, you'll be on the hook. And so AI can help with those types of things to make sure you're compliant better than humans can.
Yeah.
So yeah, I see, but the next layer that's really going to be fascinating to watch is there's a whole layer of AI compliance and AI data security, data privacy, all kinds of stuff that now you're going to have to be compliant with as well for HR. As much as it refines and automates some of the lower level compliance stuff, it's adding
Yeah.
compliance things
Absolutely.
as well. Yeah.
I love your experience because you've got the practical side where you've actually been in there and implementing it. You've done the consulting side, you've seen it from a media side. But William, why don't you talk about what you're currently doing with WorkDefined so we can have
Yeah.
kind of that backstop to understand kind of where your passion is and what you've been working on?
So, WorkDefined is a podcast network. We have about 70 shows about work. And so, if you're a podcasting person, you love podcasts, you're out mowing your grass or going for a run or whatever, and you like listening to podcasts, we've got 70 shows for you. So, if you're really into the future of HR, or there's payroll shows,
Mm,
compliance shows, culture. So basically, look at all the things that an employee would go through from onboarding to offboarding. There's podcast about that. That's a network of podcasts. We have a couple shows, my business partner and I, but we built a podcast network. The origin story of how I fell into HR and fell into love with HR and recruiting was I owned an ad agency in the 90s and in the aughts up till 2010, and where we served vendors that sold into HR
oh,
and
interesting.
recruiting.
Yeah.
And that's all, that was our market. That's all we did. So the
Mm,
success factors and oracles and just anybody that you can think of, ADP, we repped them and we sold into HR. And as I've interacted with more and more practitioners, and I did all the HR related things that are our business, our agency. So I did payroll. I did the internship program. I did compliance. I did all that stuff for the agency as a small business owner. But the more practitioners that I interacted with, the more I fell in love with HR. So I'm a convert from marketing. In fact, I often call myself, a recovering marketer, and just fell in love with the hopefulness that most HR people have.
Yeah, I love it. And I see you got the certifications, you did the SPHR and did all the stuff, and you speak at a number of events, and obviously with your podcasts and networks. What's one of the topics you find is just kind of the bullseye hot button right now? Is it AI? What are you seeing right now across your network of podcasts and discussions?
I think the vendor community would love for it to be about AI. I
Yeah,
think they would love for it to be about agentic, generative AI or Gen AI or AI in general. I think the vendors that sell to HR would love for it to be about AI. But I think when I talk to practitioners, what I see and hear most is they're trying to figure out how to thrive while the ground beneath them is moving. Because AI is impacting them, but it's impacting them in a way that the rest of the organization is going through massive transformation change, right? Going through all digitization and going through all these things. And AI, as we see it today, will take over a lot of repeated basic task. So if you have a task in HR or in the organization that it's just something that gets done, it has to get done. AI, you can train AI to do it. You don't need a human to do it. That freaks HR out and should, because they're used to being interacting with employees, being the employee voice, helping shape the culture for employees, like being the go-to for employees. Well, if there's no employees,
yeah.
who are they interacting with? Who are they trying to champion? Mark Benioff just recently laid off 4,000 salespeople, BDRs mostly. And in that discussion, when he says about the layoff, he says, I need less headcount and I need more AI because AI, a bot, can do an agent actually, can do the job of a BDR right now. Like the job can be done.
Hmm.
It can be done better. By the way, agentic AI, they can't form a union. They don't take breaks. They can work on the weekends. Like it's the perfect scenario for
They're not
some.
emotional. They don't take
They're
criticism the
not.
wrong way.
You're not going to have to investigate a sexual harassment claim. Like there's all of those things,
Yeah, absolutely.
and it's going to eat away and erode a lot of entry level jobs.
Yeah. And just for those that don't know, agentic AI is the power of building customized agents. So tasks that humans might do, you train up essentially an agent that
Right.
would be an automated workflow, and you give it rules, you give it skill sets and permissions. You're starting to see this a lot in like customer service call centers where you can actually have agentic voice, take inbound calls, listen to the concerns, prompt a response, it'll speak it back, and then it will route it to the proper place. So you don't have to have that front level entry level call center agent. You can get it, you can handle most stuff and then push it to specialists down the road. So a lot of agentic AI is very displacing for early stage roles
Yeah.
and positions.
So now you've got okay, kids coming out of college. Where do they go?
Yeah.
Usually they'd go to Enterprise Rent a Car. They got places, and those places are becoming less and less. That's what's keeping HR up at night. It's not stemming the tide. It's not in front of, but how do they become aware in their own organization where that displacement is going to happen, and in their own department. These agents can be built in their own department. Should they get in front of that and start to do that? And the answer from the organization and from the board is yes, you should. Anywhere that you can put an agent that does the job, the cost isn't even close. Because even if you take something off the shelf, which there's those, or you build it yourself, people give you a platform and you build your own, the cost is not even close to having a human being do it. That's keeping them up at night.
Yeah, memos from CEOs coming out to HR departments saying if this is a net new position, you have to document as to why an agentic agent couldn't do it. Instead of saying I'm optimizing for humans, you're
Right.
saying you now have to position as to why an agent couldn't do it.
The famous one is the CEO of Shopify.
Yes. Yeah. That's a
That's the
big.
famous one because
Yep.
he's talking to all the employees and he's just like, you can't hire unless you can build a business case that says AI can't do this. So imagine a recruiting team and what they're dealing with, like, okay, so we're not hiring. And if we are hiring, we're hiring really, really specialized people that agents they can't do at the current state. And everyone is terrified of, well, what the at the current state is, where is that in a year?
Is that the HR's role to do that, though, William? What do you think? Is that a skill set that HR people should know? Is the capacity, the capabilities of agentic hires? Is it them to know
100%.
to advise we
Yeah.
shouldn't hire this human? We should invest into this.
My father used to have a phrase when I was growing up. You either get on the train or you get run over by it.
There you go.
My answer is going to be yes, because if they put their heads in the sand, then they're going to get run over. I think it's better for them get the updates, have a take, have an understanding. It's a great time to start studying AI, listening to AI podcasts and webinars and things like that to understand what's available so that they can understand here's what my reaction should be. Because if they go to a exec meeting and they're so far behind, it's just easier to fire them.
Are we seeing that? Are we
Uh,
seeing termination HR
yes,
departments in whether it be
leaders.
assumptive? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
If you're too far behind, you're not helpful. And it's just easier to go find someone that gets it. When the internet arrived, it was a slow roll into mass adoption. This is not that.
Right.
There's no slow roll. I looked at a thing the other day and it said the last 7 days in AI, and all of them were massive things. They just said, here's just 7 days.
Mm.
Here you go. Here's 7 days. It's moving that fast. No one's got a feel. So the good news is no one on the planet knows everything about AI. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's not like there's one person you can go to or something like that, or it's a person that's all knowing. It's actually good news. So you're not that far behind. But there are people that are not hiding from it and they're running into it. They definitely know more. And the
Hmm.
people that are running away from it, it's a career limiting move.
I love your experience, William, in recruiting specifically, understanding the technology, talent acquisition. What was your exact title at Recruiting Daily?
It was president or something like
President,
that.
massive, massive publishing media
Yeah.
house that had podcasts and content and was kind of state of the art for all the updates and vendors at the time, as well as tips and tricks. I know you've seen a lot with talent acquisition change in the time
Right.
you've been doing it, but what are some of the things that you see talent acquisition still missing? What are some of those golden nuggets you feel like there's still too many people are missing this thing?
Hyper personalization. So, it's actually human. I mean, to some degree, you can be fed the data to then do that. But it's just like, Ryan, what are you into? What are your interests? What do you really want? This is a job, and this is some of the things you can do after this job and be successful, either inside the company or out. You can get data to help you inform all that stuff, but you're still dealing with a human. So I think people that have the take of let's just automate everything in recruiting, you definitely see that. But the thing is those people will never be loyal because they're not interacting with human
Yeah.
beings. Why be loyal? If it's a bot that's just taking through interview questions and it gets you to a certain price and you've never talked to anybody, how tethered are you to that company? Yeah, no, nor should they.
Yeah, sure.
If you treat them like a widget, why would you expect anything than widget behavior? I call it moments of humanization, where you look at the process and it's a human being, HR or recruiting, can step in and go, hey, listen, wanted to introduce myself, tell you a little bit about the culture, talk about the values, make sure that we're aligned. And whether or not you stay 1 year, 16 years, that's not the bit. What's important is that you have a great experience here with us because we're going to need you to help us. We need you not to just do the job. We need you to inform us when we're not doing things correctly. That doesn't work with ones and zeros. That's a human. someone looking you in the eye, if it's in office or return to work office, if it's someone that just like sits down with you and just goes, hey, listen, the world's changing, totally get it. All right, here's the deal. We'll be loyal to you if you'll be loyal to us. We'll help you if you'll help us. Like it's more than a paycheck.
Yeah, it's a
We
symbiotic relationship to
we need your best and you need our best. So hold us accountable when we're not at our best. And we'll do that with you as well because you can get better. Some of it you just didn't know that you were doing something incorrect. You know what
sure.
I'm
Yeah.
saying? Both
Well,
as a company, as an individual.
I think you get a lot of like internal recruiters and talent acquisition that are they're asked to do more with less, right? And they get
Right.
overwhelmed with recruiting. They've got hundreds of applicants on it. This idea of saying, "Hey, I can save my stress level and my shoulder pain by leveraging AI into helping
Hmm.
them, automations, whatever." That's very appealing to them from that standpoint, which I agree with to a certain degree. But I love your point of you've got to humanize it at some point. Do you have some recommendations at where that is in that pipeline?
When they're on the short list, if you can automate, I think, all the way through the interview process,
Mm-hmm.
you can automate both sourcing, finding the talent, and doing recruitment marketing, all that type of stuff. I think you can automate a lot of that. So if someone's interested, they've seen the job, they're interested in the job, compensation's already kind of been ironed out, that type of stuff. So the recruiters don't have to get in there and Jerry Maguire it. I think that moment when they're on a short list is a great time to pick up the phone or text.
Yeah,
Okay. So now it's
absolutely.
like reaching out to that person, like, hey, how do you want to communicate? I'm a real human being. Do you just want to talk for a couple minutes? We can go on FaceTime. Like, what's interesting to you? And meet the candidate where they are and say, listen, you're on a short list. This happens. When you apply to a job, you go through this whole gauntlet of things that happen. Sometimes you make it to a short list, sometimes you don't. That's just how the world works. You're on a short list. You're of one of five that are going for this position. I need to know more about you now because I want to be an advocate and I need to know you. Outside of all the things you've already done, just tell me some interesting things. Like recruiters want to be an advocate for those five candidates to a hiring manager
Yeah,
so that the hiring manager gets more data than what's in the ATS or what other data that they have. They then can ask the recruiters like, okay, you've talked to all five of these people. Tell me about them. Who's going to flourish on my team? They're really interactive. If you've already got the skills and capabilities, okay, good. Now tell me the other stuff. Who would gel? You know my team. You know who would gel there, like really gel, and then the recruiter can back that up. Say, I talked to Stacy. Dude, she's super flexible. Like she just wants to learn. She's a sponge. She's got the capability skills that you need and all that other stuff, but she is going to be a person on your team that is going to learn from everybody on the team, and you're going to blink, and then she's going to be leading the team. That's what hiring managers wants to hear.
this is the human side of human resources that I think a lot
That's
of
it.
people forget. Right?
Yeah.
Is know and understand those soft skills that may not be articulated that a bot can't flush out. It's that ability to kind of dive a little bit deeper. We talked about getting the pipeline in. A common concern is I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm paying on ZipRecruiter, LinkedIn, on
Yep.
Indeed, and all the things, and I'm doing the dance, and I'm not getting qualified candidates. What say you, William? How do you
Oof.
advise a company that's just like putting up their hands and going, I'm not getting qualified candidates?
Well, okay, so this is like fishing, right? So are you fishing in the right part of the lake?
Yep.
Is it out of season? I'm not a fisherman. My business partner is, but I absolutely it's boring to me. I'll just say the truth. It's absolutely, I don't have the patience for it. I do this to myself every couple of years. I'll go out on a boat with a bunch of guys and we'll fish. And after about an hour, I'm like,
Heck, we're still doing this?
what else? Do we have other options?
Yeah.
I find myself on my phone playing games.
Yeah.
It's like, I just am bored by it. It's a great metaphor for recruiting. Either you're off season or you're using the wrong bait or you're fishing in the wrong lake or it's the wrong part of the lake. There's a whole lot of factors there. So if you're spending money on Indeed and it's not working, then you have two options with that. Either you pull from your budget from Indeed and place it elsewhere, or you lower your expectations, which is not optimal.
Which is hard to report back to a leadership team to be in that position to say,
Yeah,
CEO, lower your expectations. I'm not hiring a VP of sales this month.
that's not great. That's not
No,
optimal because, especially in sales, every day that that person's not selling is dollars you'll never
lost
receive.
opportunity. Yep.
Lost opportunity. I think the thing is you look at your bait, you look at the season, you look at, okay, what's working. That's why I like a lot of A/B testing.
Yeah.
If I have $1,000 to spend, I'm going to spend 500 on Indeed, 500 on ZipRecruiter. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm gonna
Yeah.
see which of these sources is actually getting me more quality than not.
Fishing's a perfect metaphor. One of my best friends is a fly fishing guide and has been forever. One of my favorite things is we'll go out with them with, these rookie fly fishermen and they're like, what's the secret? What's the secret? And they're wanting to know, like, there's a perfect way to drop that line on top of the water. And the reality is his answer never has changed in 25 years that I've known him is you fish where the fish are. That's the secret. You fish where the fish
That's
are.
and recruiting is that. You go to where
Yeah.
they are. They're somewhere. So it's a VP of sales. Well, you know what? If I'm hiring for a VP of sales, I'm going to put an ad up at Dreamforce, Salesforce.com's conference.
Yeah. Right.
I'll spend money in their newsletter or spend money there in San Francisco where they're going to be for the opportunity. It's looking at where do they congregate. They congregate locally. Salespeople they have groups. They have all kinds of things, and whether or not it's local or it's online, you just go where they are. If that is Indeed or ZipRecruiter, don't put all your money into one place unless you've proved it to yourself that that place is actually indeed the right place. I even advise people, even if put a little bit of money somewhere else just to see, because things change so often that might have been great last year.
Yeah.
Like I could just cast, done, easy. But this year, for whatever reason, they're not there.
The strategic recruiting, I think, is a big shift. I think
Yeah.
that's something that there's a lot of competition for attention for
Oh my.
candidates.
Oh, everything's
Yeah.
competition. I mean, what they do with their time. So the thing that you talked about is kind of like a Star Wars deal, where candidates are using AI to apply to jobs, and employers are using AI to sniff out the AI jobs,
Yeah.
the AI candidates. So you've got this war that's happening, and it's not good and evil. It's just an AI war that's happening. And so, but the stuff that comes down and gets into your pipeline, I think you need to be more rigorous with, is that person that person? So one of the things I like to do, if you can afford it, is identity verification. So I'm not even going to get into skills and competencies and behavioral interviews and, personality tests or any background. I don't, I'll get there,
Yeah.
but I want to know, is that person that person? So that I don't waste time on it. So there's a ton of technology companies that go in and they do 3 or 4 or 5 factor authentication to make sure that the you is you. And so they get those candidates that automatically purifies your front end of your pipeline.
I like
And
that a lot.
then you can decide,
Yeah.
okay, is this person capable? Is this person blah, blah, blah? Because it's a person. A lot of people do it at the end, and it baffles me. Because that's a mixed befuddled and baffles together. But why would you do it at the end? Like you've already spent all this time, money, and energy, and it's a bot. Why would you wait? Or like get it out of the way the first thing. Like let's just go take it, and everybody goes through this process. Done. And now I know I'm doing with humans.
Yeah.
Great. Now I can do the process, whatever the process is for that particular job.
We hear a lot of varying opinions. And last I checked, there are 3,042, I don't know, I'm just making that up, personality assessments from DISC to TI to, I mean, all
Oh
the
yeah,
things,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
There's the
Oh yeah,
colors, whatever. My mom made
yeah,
one
yeah.
up. Who knows? But what's your thoughts on that? Is talent acquisition making decisions and hiring decisions based on personality assessments or personality tests?
It can't be the decision. It's got to be a spoke
Okay.
of the decision, especially when you have not generalized things, but really specific. Like I'll give you an example. Hogan Assessments in Tulsa has a personality assessment for safety. So if you're hiring for a forklift driver, or hiring somebody in mining or truck drivers, someone that has to be safe. Manufacturing comes to mind. Okay. You know what? I want to know if they're hardwired to be risky or not. I'm going to at least allow forward the people that are not risky.
Mm, yeah.
Because the last thing you want your forklift driver to be, as from a personality perspective, is risky. So I like it in the very nuanced, but it's a spoke. It's just one data point, and I think it's got to be very specific to the position that you're hiring for.
I
And
like
I
that a
give you
lot.
several others, but it's
Yeah.
like you use those sparingly, and you use them for very specific cases. That's when it's like we need safety. I mean, that's one of the biggest costs that we have in manufacturing is settlements of where we weren't safe. Well, if we
Yeah.
hire people that are less risky, dare I say,
Yeah.
maybe we'll have less accidents.
I like that use case of it, but I think a lot of people get caught up in the personality assessments and
Oh, yeah.
the personality and how that's going to conform to my team and my culture, and we shouldn't hire them based on this, even though their skills may look really strong. My thought is this: is we have a professor here, and you're going to automatically assume he's wrong because he's an ASU professor, being
No,
from
I
U of
won't.
A
I
or
won't. I
so.
won't.
But in chatting with him, he's kind of analyzed and he's felt his initial research is suggesting that performance has never been indicative of the personality assessment, but it's a phenomenal coaching tool of understanding how to communicate, how to motivate, how to inspire, how to hear them and them to hear you. But it shouldn't be used as necessarily as a tool of should I hire, should I not?
I can validate that. And there's a company in Houston called Berkman International. And what it does is it does assessments in a group setting.
Yeah. Oh,
So if it's a candidate, you also assess the team that they would be working with, the leader,
yeah.
etc. And what it breaks down is communication. And it helps you understand how they like
Mm,
to communicate, but also how they like to consume communication.
right.
So back in my agency days, my business partner, who was a wonderful person, he was a reflective person. He was very thoughtful, very reflective. So we would get data at the exact same time. I've made a decision in 90 seconds,
He
period.
needs to sleep on it for a couple nights.
Because he's thoughtful, he can't
Yeah.
make that decision. And if he does, he's not doing what's his process, right? He needs to take it home, do a little research, make sure, talk to some people, do it, work his process. So once we learn that about each other, the stress level for him and for I lifted.
Mm,
I would make a decision in 90 seconds, go, I know you got to work your process. You work your process? Cool. Let's talk in a couple days. And he would be less stressed because I wasn't like, come on, let's go. Let's go.
yeah.
Where are we? I've already made the decision. Let's go. Let's go. So there was no pressure. So I think in a candidate perspective, understanding the rest of the team and the rest of the team understanding how they like to consume communication, but also give communication, it's critical. It's critical on teams. But again, is that about performance? No. It will impact performance because you're not getting people riled up and anxious and all this other stuff, but it isn't a dot to dot for performance. So I think your professor is absolutely spot on using
Yeah.
tools like that to then understand the utility of like them. They're going to be working with this team. So how can we make that communication layer? How can we optimize that? And it's easy. It was a battery of questions. We did it for the whole agency, not
Yeah.
just for my business partner and I. We did it for the whole agency. So then you could see with each person how they like their communication.
I think it's so smart.
And you could personalize it to them. It's like, hey, Samantha, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna give you top level because I know that I know you
Yeah.
like just hearing the top level. Here's the bit. Here's what's going on. And won't we touch base, in a week or so?
I think it's a beautiful thing that companies don't utilize enough is
Yeah.
maybe when we know based on some data surveyed by Gallup is that 83% of people quit their role because of their direct level supervisor, right? So their middle management is destroying your retention of your business.
100%.
And one tool you could easily implement that may make a significant impact is understanding their personality and their ways to receive communication and feedback and have that part of the file of the employee. So when you sit down for your monthly or quarterly or annual
Yeah.
review, whatever your cycle is, You take 10, 15 minutes and you sit down, you read through, how does this person like to hear information so I can inspire, I can motivate, and I can lead them?
First of all, the more you dig into the Berkman, the more you're going to really find it fascinating. It was developed for World War II pilots. Dr. Berkman, the assumption was there's a you and there's a you under stress, and they're two different people. And so you have to understand those things. I love the idea of using it in performance reviews because you know what? If you know that that person really responds to negative feedback, like they don't want to hear the positive stuff, that the cheerleading stuff, they don't, just don't waste your time. They want to hear like, well, how do I get better
Yeah.
with specific cases and training and things like that? Well, then you can go into the room and say, hey, listen, I know that like I could give you all the accolades because you got a ton of accolades
Yeah.
during the time period, but I know that you want to know the things that you need to learn about and get trained on, etc. So why don't we just start there? Which would seem like a real negative experience, but it's not a negative experience to that person because that's how they operate. That's how their
Yeah.
brain operates. And so why not meet them where they are? But we cookie cutter and we treat everybody the same. So one of the worst things that HR does is they treat everybody the same. I live in Arlington, Texas. I'm a recovering Cowboys fan or Cowboys fan. But I read Jimmy Johnson's book after you left. It was about leadership.
Yeah.
And one of his bits in the book was you don't treat all your players the same because all your players aren't the same on Sundays. That's the worst thing you can do in an organization is treat everybody the same.
Mm.
Michael Irvin would wear a fur coat to a trial for Coke and for whatever else. But you know what? On Sundays, he caught touchdowns. So would we treat Michael Irvin any different? No. And so his bit was the worst thing you can do, let's say from a Bulls perspective, BJ Armstrong to Michael Jordan. They're both great players. I mean,
Yeah.
one's the GOAT, but they're both good players, great players, great. You don't treat them the same. Why
No.
would you do that? Are you going to make Michael Jordan do a bunch of wind sprints? No, you're not. Well, first of all, he'd be faster. You know, he never lost a wind sprint
I didn't know that, actually.
in his entire career with the Bulls. Practices, he never lost a wind sprint.
Why does that not surprise me?
No, why does that not surprise me
Yeah.
too, right? I heard somebody
Yeah.
tell me, like, yeah, no, he wouldn't lose. If he saw you gaining, he would run faster.
Yeah.
He would not lose. I'm like, who operates like this? But the idea that we can cookie cutter things with employees, I think we need to dismantle that concept.
I love your passion for HR community. I love your commitment to it. I always get excited about people that can dive into one particular niche and own it, love it, breathe it, and be all part of it. You've devoted your life to it. You've got a phenomenal podcast network. If there's someone listening here that's solo practitioner HR, they might feel alone in their organization.
Yeah.
Being a department of one, even being a department of three can feel very lonely
100%.
at times. You have so much experience, but where do they spend their time? Is there a couple of networks, events, shows, some things that you might recommend to people go to feel more connected?
I think SHRM, 350,000 members, is a good place for a lot of people. HRCI, HCI. I think the basic advice is get out of what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
Go somewhere, even if it's HR.com and you're doing messages with other practitioners in like industries and like sizes, maybe even like maturity curves. But the idea is get out of what you're doing to then go and first of all, having a network of people, peers that you can ask questions with is extremely important.
That's
It could be
powerful.
local. It could be Arizona SHRM. It could be as simple as just being more active in that group. Again, what you're really looking for is places to connect with other human beings, ask questions, answer questions, be more connected, because I think that helps you with the loneliness of the business. I think it helps you there, but I also think you can bring back ideas.
Yeah.
Not only does it help you kind of satisfy the loneliness part, but it also can, if you have new ideas, like, hey, listen, I was talking to Sally, and she works at a so-and-so company, and what she rolled out with her whatever program is this, I think we should try it. And then now the rest of the team is looking at them and going, they're always trying to innovate. They don't rest. They're trying to innovate. I think you can get a lot of that innovation through all the traditional media ways, but it's also through peer groups.
I
And if
love
you don't
that.
have one, create one.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay. You're in Gilbert. You know what? There's a ton of HR professionals in Gilbert. All right, let's do a meetup. It's as simple as that. Like, let's just go to a play. We'll go to TGI Fridays or whatever it is. Let's just go there and we'll just have fun and talk to each other.
I think there's a lot of excuses that are easy to be made about not having the right
100%.
time for it.
Yeah, yeah.
And what most people don't realize is that that time is an investment that pays dividends. It really does have a returning impact. There is an ROI directly to those peer support groups. I've invested myself an enormous amount of money, time, and resources into peer groups. And I can tell you right now, I don't believe I'd be where I am, my company is, if I hadn't had the emotional support, the strategic support, the what I call the water cooler support, meaning you're
Yeah,
hearing someone
yeah.
else's problems and you're learning through osmosis of what to do and
100%.
how to handle situations. I can't tell you how many times that's happened.
Yeah. I just had a sexual harassment claim, or we just went through an investigation, and most of it was online, and I didn't know how to track. Like, it wasn't normal. So here's what I did. Well, now I've just learned that story.
Yes.
It's like, okay, that might happen in my business. Okay, what
Yes.
can I do? My favorite bit, Ryan, is when someone tells me they don't, especially in HR and recruiting, when they tell me they don't have time, I literally flip it on them and say, you don't have time to innovate?
Hmm.
There's no counter. Family, kids, school, getting a degree, whatever, doesn't matter. It's like, if you don't have time to innovate, then you're obsolete. You're working towards being obsolete. You've always got to be innovating. Always. Either explicitly or implicitly, that's your job, is to innovate. And so if the rest of the team doesn't see you innovating, you're on a path to obsolescence. Why would they keep you? So when someone says that time thing, that I just kill that really quickly. It's
I
like, all
love
right,
that.
well, when do you want to get fired?
Yeah.
Like, do
You're,
you
you're,
have a date in mind that you're obsolete? Do you have a date? Like, I'll go because I'm sarcastic. I'll just go into the bit and go, okay, like, how about September next year? Like, you just, you'll probably get, a couple months of severance, but, you'll be obsolete by then. It's a choice. If you want to be obsolete, well, good. Don't make time.
well, William, we'll leave it there because innovate or die is about as powerful of a message as we could leave it. And that's so evident and so true in our society and our culture that you have to be willing to adapt and change. And without that, it's easy to be left in the dust. But for those that want to follow along your journey, your story, where do you
Yeah.
recommend kind of
Just
the,
go, just Google. Just put my name into Google. You'll find.
yes,
I'm
you
so
will.
easy because of the uniqueness of my name. I think it's a lot of that, but
And
you'll
the
find me.
media empire in which you have
I don't know about that,
established.
but but yeah, it's super easy to find me. I'm on all social. I'm super transparent with all that stuff.
All right, William Tincup, awesome. We'll put some links in our all of our shows to make sure people
Sure.
connect with you. Thank you so much for your time. Super insightful, and I absolutely love what you're doing with WorkDefined.
Thank you, brother.